Hi, I'm Maria Theoharis or Velo Sews on social media. You're listening to a great Sew Over 50 Sewing Friends podcast on Sew Organised Style. Stay listening.
Sew Organised Style podcast acknowledges traditional owners of country throughout Australia. We pay our respects to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander cultures and to the elders past, present and emerging.
Thanks again for joining us on this Sew Over 50 podcast series about sewing friends. Sew Over 50 intersects with all communities. Did you get a chance to listen to the first part of this Sew Over 50 Sewing Friends podcast with Nicole and Helga in episode 305? Today's podcast is part 2 of the chat that we had about their sewing and their sewing friendship. Nicole or September Fadden on Instagram and Helga of Salix Sews on Instagram discuss their sewing projects on their to-do list. We heard about their friendship in episode 305, and this current episode is a continuation of that really lovely chat. Let's get back to that conversation now. Nicole and Helga, tell us about your next projects.
Well, we didn't really pursue the idea for a while, but we met spontaneously on New Year's Day. And we intended to go to our local fabric store together in the morning of that day and to find some inspiration there. They have wonderful fabric. And as Nicole already said, we always go there every week. I think we must have met there in the last years without knowing each other. So we intended to go there to find some inspirations, but it was closed. It was a very warm day, this New Year's Day this year, and which is very unusual for a German winter. And we said, okay, let's go to a coffee house and sit in the sun, take off the coats. And we ordered a spritz, an Aperol spritz. Do you know what that is?
Yes, yeah. I love that.
Yes, you do. Yeah, it's lovely. And we had a good time and our ideas bubbled. And we were pondering what to make. And we were talking about a blouse or maybe a no-waist pattern. But ideas have to grow, and we still didn't come to a resolution. So in the end, I accompanied Nicole home. She doesn't live very far away from there. And I had a look at her fabulous fabric collection. And of course, she showed me her new fake fur coat. Have you seen that, Maria? She has just made a post about it.
Yeah.
She made a fake fur coat from remnants. Another scrap busting project, which is fantastic. You have to look it up. Everybody who listens, look it up. It's a wonderful project. It's a real masterpiece. She will be a showstopper wearing it wherever she goes.
She is.
And that day, she also helped me out with a stretch of volume fleece, which I needed for my own project, which was a laptop bag, which I just made then. So sewing friends really are the best. And tell them about your coat.
Yes, my coat. Well, you said a showstopper. That's quite funny because the city where we live isn't that much of a fashion stronghold. People are very, very casual here, casually dressed. I think in Munich, nobody would even think about me wearing that coat. But in Augsburg, I have worn it now for 2 or 3 times, and there are people who stop and stare at me, and they maybe think, oh, she's quite crazy.
I don't believe you.
You get used to it. It's quite unusual, but I love that coat, and it's so cozy. And there's a lot of remnants are gone now, and they don't occupy space anymore, and they're in my coat now, and that's quite good. But as Helga told you, I took her home and I showed her my sewing room. And before I did that, I said, Helga, I take you home and you get that piece of volume fleece, but you have to swear and promise me you won't tell anybody how it looks like in my sewing room, because my sewing room is a mess. I do have piles of fabric sitting in shelves and in wardrobes, and I do have remnants, mountain of remnants I have to work with. Then I have a pile of worn out jeans sitting there because I plan to do an upcycling project with it. And I do have that all in mind. And whenever I have something in mind, I go and get these fabrics and put them in my sewing room. And that's exactly how it looks like there. And then Helga, she looked at my stash I have, and she said, Nicole, perhaps it would be better you do our coat project with one of the fabrics you already have instead of buying something new. And she was so right. And that's what I do now. I found something in my stash.
Oh, good.
But it's all not true. She's just a creative person, and it's a creative chaos. Totally okay.
It sounds much better.
You're lucky that you have such a great room where you can store it and drop it and take it from everywhere. That's perfect.
The only problem is it's the room where we have to work when we're working from home. So when you have to find your way to the computer, you always have to see the obstacles and try to go around them.
How long did it take you to sew your coat, your fur patchwork coat?
It was the first time I really counted the hours because so many people kept asking me, how long does it take you?
Yeah.
And this coat was about 40 hours of work.
Mm-hmm.
But it was quite contemplative and a sort of meditation. And I really had in mind that project for such a long time. And I didn't want to rush through. I really took my time, and it took 1 or 2 days just to assort the different fake furs and to look how would they look like in which combination. But it made me calm down because my job is very stressful, and I had a few days off between Christmas and New Year. And I really used this whole week for doing this coat.
And it's very well balanced. All of the pieces, the time that you took to put them together, they look really well balanced.
Thank you.
It's just wonderful, yeah. And I think that's how we got to the coat theme, wasn't it, Nicole?
I think so. I think you had seen a pattern in a Burda Style magazine.
That's true, yeah.
Because Helga and I do love Burda Style. We are like Burda Style children. We have been sewing so many patterns from Burda Style because we grew up with that magazine.
It's just the magazine everybody had in Germany. Everybody who sewed had Burda.
How do you call it, Maria? Burda?
I say Burda, but I think if...
Burda. Mm-hmm.
But is the German way of saying it Burda?
Burda.
We would say Burda.
Burda.
Mm-hmm.
And the R, the rolling R, is typical for our city. All the people living here do a rrr.
Okay, good.
Exactly.
Yes, but Helga had seen that coat. It wasn't exactly that pattern. You had seen another trench coat pattern, and Helga said, I'd love to sew a trench coat. And I have seen that pattern, and then we thought it through, and then we found another pattern, and then we decided to do this together.
Yeah, so now we're sewing a trench coat together.
Tell me about the trench coat.
Yeah, well, it's a classic trench coat from Burda. It has a lapel collar, it is double buttoned, it has the typical collar. Do you know what a collar is? The collar.
Koller, no.
Exactly, yeah. It is the piece of the layer of fabric over the shoulder area, which helps the rain can run off better. It's a typical element of a trench coat.
Yep.
And it has slanted side pockets, binding belt loops, lots and lots of little pieces again. Then we chose the fabric. We're going to make it a bit like a jungle theme, Nicole, don't we?
Yes, I think so.
I chose a cotton reptile print from my stash. And as Nicole said, we want to make it from our stash, use what we have. And also the haberdashery and the fabric from our own stash. I only have 2 meters of that cotton reptile, but the coat needs 3 meters 50. So I had to play Tetris. Do you say Tetris,
yes.
Maria?
Yes.
That's that game. Somehow I managed to cut out the main pieces from the reptile print, and then I added some other pieces which you don't see, the inside collar and
good idea.
The hidden pieces like facings, and also the collar, that piece outside, I make that from another fabric. I will also make my own buttons. I will cover the 10 buttons with the main fabric by hand. And I've already made a reel about that, but I'm not sure if I can post it. It's very unprofessional. It's totally new to me, that reel thing. It's very long. It has taken me 3 minutes, actually. And I'm not sure if anybody wants to watch me how I sew my buttons, but I will think about it. Maybe I will post it one day.
In fact, I'd love to see it, Helga, because I was wondering how you're doing that. I have covered buttons myself, but only with these button kits you can buy in the shops. I've never done it another way, and I long to see that. So please post it, Helga.
Okay, I will show it to you first, and you tell me if I can put it on Instagram. You have more Instagram experience.
We'll have Maria edit it.
Exactly.
I'm looking forward to it. I don't mind if it's 3 minutes long, honestly.
Really, because I showed it to my daughter and she didn't even watch it. You know, she said, it's 3 minutes. Much too long.
Yeah, but she's not a sewist. So I think
maybe
you can cut it by some seconds.
Exactly.
Yeah, there is a little bit of a surprise in it.
Okay.
Okay.
I will show you, Nicole.
So you're going to post it all.
Okay, we'll see. Maybe I do.
I have chosen my fabric too. I had 3 choices. I've at least found 3 fabrics. 2 are with a floral print, coincidentally both philodendron, and one is pink with green leaves printed on it, and the other is white with some black geometrical and green floral elements.
Wow.
And I had a third one. It has prints of Frida Kahlo on it, this Mexican painter.
Yep.
And I bought that in Sevilla in Spain. And so whenever anybody who's listening to us is ever going to Spain, take an extra suitcase, because they do have fabric paradises. It's not shops, it's paradises. And you go there and you're flashed.
Is it better than in Vienna, the Komolka shop?
Some of them are bigger, and you do have a fabric shop every 10 meters.
Unbelievable.
And I went there for learning Spanish. And on my way back from school to my apartment, I had 3 or 4 fabric stores. And
oh dear.
Fortunately, they were all closed when I came home from school. So I couldn't go in there every day, but I did go in there every weekend. And I sometimes didn't go to school just to sneak in the fabric store. So they're really great there. But okay, back to my coat, sorry. I decided to take the black and green geometrical one. And as I'm going wild now with linings, I preferred monochrome linings for years. And with my fake fur coat, for the first time, I took a lining which is very nice itself. You could wear it as a blouse, for example, but I chose it to be a lining. And I have bought black lining now for this new, I call it Helga coat, because we sew it together. And it's got poppies on it, red poppies.
Lovely. That sounds amazing.
Will be gorgeous, I'm sure.
Sure.
Both of your trench coats sound like really great ones to wear all the time. Beautiful.
We hope so.
Do you have any further plans or projects in mind? Because the trench coat is going to be a huge one.
Yes, that's it. And I think we're going to be happy when we tackle this first.
Mm-hmm.
So we do have a time schedule, and then we'll have a shooting together, because I think this has to be a twin photo. And after that, well, we talked about bras. Bra sewing is something Helga is very experienced in, and I am not at all. I have never sewn a bra before, so we might.
I've sewn 3 bras. I'm not really experienced.
Well, that's a lot more experienced than I am, Helga.
Okay.
Yes, perhaps we try this. And we also talked about traveling together, because we do have some sewing friends in Berlin. And we thought about traveling to Berlin, or perhaps to Vienna. The fabric shops are waiting for us everywhere. And this would be nice, just to have a weekend, or a weekend and 2 days more, just to spend some time together thinking about that. I think this would be fun. I would love to do that.
Can you hear that? That's the surprise in my reel. The clock interrupting me.
Your time has come.
Nicole and Helga, you've already said that sewing is what has brought you together, but you both enjoy other things like going to theatre. So it makes perfect sense why you would, meet somewhere and spend a few days and do the other things that you both love and are passionate about.
Absolutely. That's our plan, Nicole, isn't it?
Yeah.
Life must let you do it.
Yes.
And your job and everything.
Yeah, job, pandemic, all these things, they make it quite difficult to meet, but I'm very hopeful that it will change quite soon.
Yeah, so am I. Absolutely. And I know there are plans for October. I was very honored to be asked by Gabrielle Kissentas and Miss Molly Polly and you to spend some time with you in a sewing camp in October, but unfortunately I can't come because it's my husband's birthday and family first, of course.
Yes.
But I'm hopeful that we will meet all of us someday, somewhere. It's really so much fun connecting with other sewists. And if these connections from Instagram reach out into real life and become personal meetings, it's even more than wonderful. And we owe it all to Sew Over 50 and to Judith and to Sandy. They are the matchmakers. And I think there are some more sewing friends out there like us.
I'm sure there are, yes.
Thank you. Thank you to them.
Judith and Sandy have done a lot of work to grow the Sew Over 50 community because we were already out there. We just needed to be connected.
Absolutely.
Yes, and they do it so well. It's quite a good job they do. And you connect, you find new friends, and you learn so much about sewing as well. So it's so many advantages you have following them, and it's the personal contact, and they're so kind. I really feel very welcomed in that group.
Yeah, it's really warming your heart,
Yeah.
especially in these pandemic days. It's an absolutely wonderful community.
You see, also Kerstin and Gabrielle and Helga, we all met via Sew Over 50. Gabrielle, Kerstin, and I did that sewing camp for the first time last October.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to Spreewald, which is close to Berlin. And we met there and we traveled there with our sewing machines. And we put them on the tables. And that was it. The rest of these 3 days, we spent hiking, chatting, drinking, eating, stopping by our sewing machines and looking if they're still there. But I think Gabriele did like 10 minutes of sewing and I copied a few patterns and that was it. And so we decided to do this again. And I hope, Helga, that we will find some time to do it again, perhaps the next year, then 2023, on another date so that you can join us. It's so much fun.
I was really sad that it doesn't work this year, but next year. Yeah, absolutely.
There will be an opportunity.
We hope so.
Yeah, I hope you both get to go to a sewing camp together and take your sewing machines, and whether you use them or not doesn't matter, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Nicole and Helga, thank you so much for being on the Sewing Friends series for Sew Over 50. I really appreciate all the work that you've done to get ready for this and to share what it is that has brought you together and what keeps you together as friends.
And thank you very much, Maria, for having us.
Thank you so much, Maria. Thank you for having us. It was so nice speaking to you.
Thank you so much. And have a lovely day, listeners. There is one more episode with Helga and Nicole as we were discussing sewing bras in quite a bit of detail. So make sure you subscribe to Sew Organized Style podcast for this next episode with Helga and Nicole and get all the latest Sew Over 50 podcasts from Sew Organized Style. This episode for Sew Over 50 on Sew Organized Style was produced by me, Maria Thea Harris, with permission of Nicole and Helga, sound by bensound.com. You can subscribe to Sew Organized Style podcast, but with an S, not a Z, on all good podcast apps. Make sure you go back and listen to over 120 Sew Over 50 podcasts, and I hope you'll support the production of this podcast through Patreon if you are able to. Every podcast is free with the aim to keep you company and encourage you to sew more often. Post any questions or suggestions you have on our Instagram account at Sew Organized Style or on our website at www.seworganizedstyle.com or on our Facebook page. We look forward to joining you in your sewing room next time. Stay safe, everyone.